Dechidigi manyarare
Fellow Zimbabweans, fellow Africans, we meet at a very crucial point in the history of Zimbabwe, in circumstances where our country is in a deep political crisis, and where all of us are fighting to win Zimbabwe for change. Let me start by quoting the words of one of the most eminent Africans on the continent, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He had this to say: if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. End of quote. Fellow Zimbabweans, I come to you, as I have already indicated, in circumstances of unprecedented national crisis. Things are worsening every day. The situation is deteriorating. The situation is decaying and decomposing. Over the past weeks and days, our country has attracted the attention and critical eye of the world. Zimbabwe is now under an international radar after our country witnessed uncalled for circumstances that meant citizen abuse, citizen harassment, and citizen violations. There is a global condemnation of the arbitrary arrests, detentions, abductions, torture, and victimization of the opposition, our lawyers, medical professionals, teachers, journalists, our bishops, the civil society at large. Zimbabwe has been turned into a banana republic, into a pariah state, an epicenter of the evil, an outpost of state terrorism against innocent, peaceful civilians. I'm, however, particularly encouraged to note that the Zimbabweans have finally realized that the call for a return to legitimacy and democracy in Zimbabwe has never been a partisan political pursuit of power or personal ambition by the alternative in our country, but it is about freedom of our country and the better livelihoods for all Zimbabweans, ending corruption and returning to full constitutionalism and full democracy with the rule of law. It has become so apparent that if we are all going to wait for others to do it, it will never get done. It will never be done. It is about us, for us, with us, none but ourselves. I acknowledge the goodwill and solidarity exhibited by progressive fellow Africans in the region and on the continent, but of course, indeed, globally, by everyone who is concerned, who has shown their support to the people of Zimbabwe. Indeed, Zimbabwean lives matter. This business of branding and labeling, condemning citizens as bad apples or terrorists to be flushed out is unacceptable. It is the leader who sets the tone for amity, peace, and harmony. The frequency of any nation is set at the top by the leader, by the leadership. A leader takes practical steps, ways, means, and measures to hear what the people are saying, to listen to the citizens and hear their plea, so that he is able or she is able to heal, not kill, comfort, not threaten, treat, not injure, to bring together and not tear apart, to forgive and not revenge, to love and not to hate, to encourage and not to victimize. A leader must be able to mobilize tools, plans, and resources to bring hope, joy, happiness, freedom to the doorsteps of all the citizens without any consideration of the shades of political opinion. A leader must protect. A leader cares. A leader comforts. A leader apologizes when they make a mistake and when things are not in order and when citizens are violated. A leader brings the nation and the people together. A leader must not segregate or choose. A leader must not be partisan. A leader must have self-restraint and inner controls, a check and a red light, a stop signal when things are not working. But it is only bad leaders who point fingers, who accuse, who blame. A bad leader blames everyone and everything except themselves. They seek to explain problems instead of solving them. They deny reality. They bury their head in the sand. And in this context, I'm particularly heartened by the fact that we've heard the church speaking out as the conscience of society, as the moral compass of society, as the conscience guardians. They've been able to articulate the voice of reason and the voice of sanity in the sea of madness and the drunken stupor of hate and vindictiveness being churned out by political animals, or animals called the politician. Our national circumstances continue to deteriorate. Today, I want to come to you to speak to you directly as fellow citizens, to tell you that I speak unity and the need for it in a time of national turmoil. I speak of peace in a time of unprecedented violence. I speak of human security in circumstances where there is human insecurity. I speak of justice in the time where we have grave injustice being perpetrated on account of the omissions and commissions of the state. It admits of no debate that 2020 has been and continues to be a very difficult and challenging year, globally and of course in our own context. With the onset of COVID-19, various natural disasters around the globe, but of course ours in Zimbabwe has been a difficult year. As you know, generally life is short, but life in Zimbabwe is made shorter by politics. It is made shorter by bad governance. It is made shorter by omissions and commissions of those who have entrusted with the affairs of men. We have continued to engage the state in a manner that is peaceful on our part, to make sure that democratic values that we ascribe to are respected. However, there seems to be unwillingness and a determination on the part of the system to turn against the values of what we stand for as a people. They have turned against the genuine desires for a dignified livelihood. They have turned against the desires of the people and have created an excuse to unleash violence on our personhood. The citizen raises their voice in peace, and the state turns against the citizen in violence with brutality, force, and repression. All critics, from bishops to book prize winners or nominees, journalists, lawyers, nurses, teachers, have all been turned into some sort of criminals and enemies of the state. And this does not spare civil society activists, opposition politicians, members of parliament, councillors, and all those who are in the various spheres and stations of life in our society. The state has literally declared war on its citizens. And this is so in the context of COVID-19, where there's absolutely no adequate testing, and of course, most people do not know where to get tested. For those who then have to be tested, they have to go to private doctors, and the cost is unbearable. People being asked to pay in excess of $65 just to be tested. This is unacceptable. This is placing life beyond the reach of many, placing health beyond the reach of men. Without health, you have taken away life. And this is a serious issue. We have not seen a concerted effort in having a united approach in leadership to deal with the problems that are affecting us in the context of COVID. The vulnerable groups have not been sustained or cushioned. They have not received support as would have expected. This is all to show that we have a problem. Fellow Zimbabweans, our future is at stake. Our economy is at stake. Our freedom is at stake. Our dignity is at stake. Our survival, our common survival is at stake. Zimbabwe is at stake. Future generations are at stake. It is not a party that is at stake. It is not individuals that are at stake. It is not a section of our society that is at stake. It is all of us, you and me. All of us are at stake. Pressure is mounting. It is coming from unexpected and unsuspected corners. Even those who were initially friends are beginning to see that the deal in Harare is a bad deal, a fake deal, fake change, fluke change, and distorted change. Everyone else can be wrong except the government. It can't be possible that government wins against the whole world. Journalists are wrong, Lawyers are wrong. Doctors are wrong. Nurses are wrong. According to government, teachers are wrong. The opposition is wrong. Bishops are wrong. Prophets are wrong. The church is wrong. South Africa is wrong. Botswana is wrong. The region is wrong. Malema is wrong. Musimaimani is wrong. Bob Wine is wrong. The AU is wrong. The United Nations even is wrong. Europe is wrong. Only the government is correct. It can't be so. Not only is the political elite in our country in denial, but it is also incapacitated to deal with the problems. The problems are beyond them. It can't be normal and acceptable when school kids are not able to go to school because of COVID, and we do not have alternative methods of teaching our kids. It can't be normal and acceptable when our lawyers are being stopped from representing clients because the client has made a choice of a lawyer of their choice. It can't be normal and acceptable when citizens are being beaten when they're supposed to be protected by our state institutions. It can't be normal when our people continue to wallow in abject poverty, when the nation has been held hostage for over 40 years now. The best way to solve problems in any situation is to acknowledge those problems. And whichever way one wants to look at the current crisis, it resembles a floundering nationalist movement that has disturbed its own days in leadership and legitimacy and has betrayed the liberation ideals. The ruling elite, the mighty and privileged, have made it clear that all people, all institutions, and all things should bend to their own will and whim, to the detriment of the greater good and the greater majority. We are seeing a usurpation of power, abuse of authority, abuse of the law, an encroachment that we have not understood, where the law is now being used. Instead of having rule of law, we now have rule by law. Abuse of state institutions for the benefit of the elite. The behavior of the ruling elite in Zimbabwe reminds us how and why it is always important never to wholly trust human beings or a human being with unchecked power, and to entrust them with the destiny without asking any questions. This is the whole legacy and task we have, to sweep and clean all facets of our society and set the nation on an irreversible path to stardom, liberty, excellence, and accountability. Only when Zimbabwe goes through a leadership renewal will we witness, and shall we witness, a completely new crop of leaders who are accountable, who have respect, honor, love, and who are able to serve honestly with humility to bring positive change to our circumstances and, of course, bring welfare and dignity. I can only say, I call upon you not to allow fearmongers, terrorists to stop you from speaking up and demanding accountability. We must remain faithful and loyal to the mandate of peace, but continue to lift our collective voice in saying enough is enough, and Zimbabwean lives matter, and that we can't breathe. The solution is within us and among us. When you see something that isn't right, you have a duty, a moral obligation to do something about it and to take action. Protest is a God-given right. It is an inalienable right, a fundamental entitlement. You must stand up, speak out, and fight for your rights. Your voice matters. Your voice counts. It is your duty. It is a national obligation. It is a generational mandate. We must not allow the threats of those who have chosen to elevate their interests above the national good to force us into silence and to force us into submission. To our brothers and sisters in the region, a burning Zimbabwe is a burning region, and indeed a burning continent. I must say to those in the region and beyond, we thank you for those who have spoken for us and those who have seen it fit to look at the sincerity of the crisis and deal with the problems that are affecting us. We call on you to continue to stand with us as we advocate for the restoration of our dignity under the oppressive hand. We call on you to stand with the citizens of Zimbabwe and hear our collective cry as a people. Diplomacy should never result in turning a blind eye on the genuine plight of the downtrodden. The Zimbabwean situation poses a serious political and security threat to the region if it is unchecked. And this is why it is important to be able to come together and speak together as a region. We must have African solutions to African problems, of course, scaffolded and underwritten by the broader international community. To the people of the beautiful nation of Zimbabwe, my fellow compatriots, I would like to encourage you not to lose sight of the fact that the Zimbabwe we want is not far. I urge you to continue to find a common purpose in speaking out, acting against corruption, injustice and poverty, acting in a manner that advances a better life and better dignity for all of us. We are a nation of incredible people. I say this with true gratitude in my heart, as many of you know that we've had difficult situations and difficult moments in time past. But we can tell you that we've witnessed the best of support and solidarity in whatever we do. Your kindness continues to help those of us who are at the coalface and at the leadership front to continue to find our feet again. And this kind of solidarity is what we continue to truly value. And this is what distinguishes us as a unique nation. We must remember that Zimbabwean lives matter. Today, tomorrow, and every day. We will never stop fighting to win Zimbabwe for change. We will continue to consult with you and build consensus among a cross-section of our stakeholders as we work together to restore our collective dignity, our collective unity. In the words of our wise bishops, the march is not ended. Let us fiercely stand against corruption, oppression, violence, terrorism, and barbarism. Yes, we are angry and frustrated. This is understandable. But we cannot allow ourselves to be forced into rash decisions. This is what they want us to do. We will not give them the satisfaction. We will not do that which they want us to do. We know that they are making own goals. They are scoring on goals. They are making blunders on their own, self-defeating mistakes they are making, and we will not disturb them in making those mistakes. We will not do much to disturb them, but we will have to do more in organizing ourselves. And everyone becoming an organizer, everyone an educator, everyone a mobilizer. We need to be together as we build a solid base for peaceful demonstrations as is enshrined in our Constitution. One can not understand why we have to stop showing ourselves to be our own liberators in circumstances where we have circumstances of oppression and dictatorship. Fellow citizens, as we speak, we are in broad consultation across the country as we build on the steps that are necessary to rescue our country, to realize that we have to make sure that we all unite. We are therefore building a broad coalition for change and transformation. There's growing consensus across the board that we cannot carry on like this. It can't just continue. Zimbabwean lives matter. Therefore, over the coming weeks and days, together we shall be able to move into continued peaceful mobilization and, of course, dialogue to push for the Zimbabwe we want and the Zimbabwe we deserve. Fellow citizens, this is our chance to shape our future. I urge you to stand up, to speak out, and to be in peace as we mobilize and organize to articulate ourselves. It can be criminal in believing in the alternative, to think differently, to think better, to act better in peace and solidarity. I thank you.
Inopondwa tonyarara mai manyarireiko mucheka muvenga chepera vanorepa zvongopera mai manyarireiko mucheka muvenga chepera Zimbabwe manyarire